Maybe you can tell us what is happening today at KICC.
Okay. We, as we all aware, is that it's climate change, yeah, right? Because you find like, by the way, climate change is real because of the global warming. I think I was in Mombasa last week, and it was so cold. So I asked them, "What's not happening?" They told me it's because of ati ice, ati jua imekuwa mingi, ice ina melt, ikisha melt, so nini inakuwa baridi. Hiyo nini. So global climate is real, and whatever people are going to be told here, if they are going to implement, well, for the sake of the country.
You as Mheshimiwa, how are you championing for climate change?
Okay, climate change, we have, like we know, we are a representative of the rural constituencies. And now being from the rural constituencies, they use most of the time kuni, and now we are advocating for use kokojiko and other things. Like those ones, gas, hizo hizo ndio vitu tuna, but now because again another challenge is hawana pesa ya kununua. So ndio unapata like it's becoming a challenge, but we are hoping the government will come up with measures on how venye wamesema wanataka kureduce your tax ya nini gas itasaidia.
Do you have maybe a proposed plan maybe to help government campaign for the African climate change?
Okay, we are going to submit. We are going to submit. We have a plan. Youth in my constituency have the proposals. They are very creative. So we are going to forward for them and see how they can be funded and implement.
Tumeona rais wetu aliweza kuendesha gari electrical car. Maybe moving forward, are you planning maybe to buy one maybe so that you can use it?
Nikipata nanunua. Nikipata nanunua ya stima. Natafuta.
All right. Shukran sana Mheshimiwa.
Asante sana. Asa wajua jana mimi najiuliza. Mimi nilikuwa nimeenda stare zangu huko. Mimi hata sikuwa mtu wa climate change. Sasa hivi kwa hapa Kizungu tunaongea mambo ya sukari. That is my area of interest. Lakini with my basic, because I was very honest by the way. Mimi mambo ya climate change mimi vitu sijui. Lakini wakati waliniuliza swali waliniambia eti mambo ya climate change. Kweli yenyewe Mombasa was cold. Mimi nilisema, and by the way I can tell you the truth, was cold. Niliuliza swali. Wakaniambia it's because of global warming. Na global warming inaletwa na nini by the way? Si inaletwa na mambo ya climate change. Sasa watu wengine wanafikiria tu mimi nasema, na nilisema kwa hiyo clip ya kwamba watu wanatumia kuni. Kwani kuni zinatoa carbon huko juu. Hii inafanya nini? Si hiyo, and that's why hata jana tulikuwa na mzungu alisema kwamba it is hard to fight climate change in Africa because of poverty and because people the way of people living, and that is what I said. Lakini watu wengine kwa Twitter wanatusi mimi, wanasema mimi ni clone, wanasema mimi sijini mjinga, ati mimi akili yangu ni kama nywele yangu ni nyasi. Niliwaambia nyinyi na kizungu yenu, kama mnaona niliongea vibaya, mwende msimame kura na hiyo kizungu yenu. Kwa sababu mimi nilijua, nilielezea in layman's language. Munyola shembore, mmesikia. Asa wajua jana mimi najiuliza. Mimi nilikuwa nimeenda stare zangu huko. Mimi hata siku.
Hello and what's up everybody, this is Elijah Gishoro. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In case you're new here, tap that subscribe button, and in case you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining me this wonderful day. Like I said, this is the greatest YouTuber in the Republic of Kenya, and the E in my name stands for exactly what you need. Now, Mumias is a member of parliament, Peter Kalero Salasya, has found himself again on the receiving end of Kenyans on social media or Kenyans on Twitter. This is after a video surfaced of Peter Salasya being completely unable to explain what climate change means, the measures that can be taken to solve issues to do with climate change, and basically policy interventions that the government needs to take in order to promote or to reduce the adverse effects of climate change. So Peter Salasya found himself in a tight spot because he was actually unable to give clear to answer or give clear directions as to what he thinks climate change stands for, or what he thinks the government can do to solve climate change. He was caught murmuring, was caught giving vague answers to questions to do with climate change. Now, the reason why this drew a lot of attention is Peter Salasya is actually a member of parliament, duly elected actually by the people of Mumias East constituency, where he represents these people in his capacity as a member of parliament. He is a legislator, you know, because he sits in the legislative arm of government. The government has 3 arms, that is social studies, primary, executive headed by the president, judiciary headed by the chief justice, and finally legislature headed by the speaker of the National Assembly. And that is where Peter Salasya falls under. And one of the key main role of members of parliament is making laws. That's why they are called lawmakers. That is the principal work of members of parliament, to make laws, actually to come up with laws that govern this country. That is what they are tasked to do. And therefore the problem is Peter Salasya is a lawmaker but cannot even explain in an interview what climate change is and how to control the adverse effects of climate change. So this begs the question, what will he be making laws on? What will he be legislating? Because at the end of the day, he has to make laws that are relevant. He has to make laws that ensure that the environment is protected, the carbon, we have more carbon credits as a country, we increase the carbon sinks in the country. And so if a member of parliament even doesn't know what a carbon credit is and how to earn money from carbon credits, how does he again go ahead and tell us he is a member of parliament? You know, this is the dilemma that we are finding ourselves in. So many people who are not or don't have that capacity to be so technical in issues to do maybe with climate change, something that really affects the society, they end up as members of parliament completely clueless about some of the emerging trends in this country or in the world, you know, and how to mitigate them, how to curtail the influence of the negative or the vices or the climatic harsh conditions, you know, because climate change is a very, very, very serious phenomenon in the Republic of Kenya. Just this year, we saw people dying of drought. In fact, remember, we were praying for the rains as the year was starting. We actually believe in God for rains, you know. And one of the key issues that actually made it very, very hard for people to survive is lack of rains, you know, because there was severe famine, and drought brings about so many things. One, people die, you know, which is the worst thing ever, the loss of human capital. People actually die, kids, children, everybody, young women, lactating mothers, they die because of lack of food. Number two, drought also causes the loss of livestock, you know. And you know, these pastoralist communities, their mainstay or their main occupational activity is actually to rear livestock, you know, and sell them to do many things, you know. And so if this livestock is dying, how will they get money? What is the source of their livelihood? How will they raise children? How will they buy property? How will they do all this stuff? Thirdly, climate change is the single largest threat to tourism, particularly in Kenya. Why do I say that? Kenya relies on wildlife for tourism. 90% of tourism in Kenya is wildlife dependent. So, when we have drought, first of all, the habitat for this wildlife is destroyed. The pasture for wild beasts is destroyed. And if you remember in biology, we read about the chain, the food chain. If the pasture is destroyed, the gazelles will die of lack of food. If the gazelles die, The lions will die because of lack of food, which is gazelles. The lions die, the scavengers will also die because there's no carcasses, or in future there'll be reduced carcasses. So it's an entire value chain. Remember, climate change also causes drying up of riverbeds. Rivers dry. There'll be no water for wildlife. Wild animals will die because of lack of water. Marine life will die because of lack of water. That is their habitat. And therefore the tourism in this country will completely be dismayed. Income will be lost and things like that. So having a member of parliament who cannot actually mitigate or talk about issues of or how to promote the growth, or how to promote the growth of carbon sinks. Carbon sinks, for those who don't know, are initiatives that reduce the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. For example, planting of trees. Trees act as carbon sinks because they'll take in the carbon from the atmosphere and therefore reduce the amount of carbon in the atmosphere that actually goes ahead to cause global warming and climate change and things like that. Because at the end of the day, what you're saying is, how do we reduce fossil fuel emissions, which is the carbon emissions? And these carbon emissions are what actually goes ahead to cause global warming, climate change, and things like that. So guys, there you have it. We need MPs who are knowledgeable. We need members of parliament who can be able to actually come out and talk about these issues. MPs who can be able to give solutions. MPs who can be able to even come up with new innovative ideas. Like right now, people are making money from carbon credits. So how can an MP empower the people of his community to actually invest in carbon credits? Because at the end of the day, you could convert these credits into money, carbon money, and it's a lot of money paid by the countries that emit so much carbon into the atmosphere. Remember, I said that it doesn't matter if you remove carbon from your country, so long as there's another country emitting that carbon into the atmosphere. It means that carbon will also come to affect your country. In this sense, the atmosphere is not locked. You cannot lock your atmosphere and leave another atmosphere. So if China emits a lot of carbon to the atmosphere, and the G7, the G20s, the USAs, the Russias of this world, which have a lot of which have a high rate of industrialization, that carbon will affect the atmosphere of the world, and that's what we call global warming. So the atmosphere of the entire world will be saturated with carbon, and there will be a rise in global temperatures, which will be felt even in countries that don't emit this carbon. That is the worst thing about global warming. It is not country specific, it's not continent specific, it's a global phenomenon. And therefore, that's why we need people, we need leaders who are able to implement, to talk about, to be bold enough to come and address these issues and actually bring solutions to their people. Without which, then climate change will continue to actually bedevil our society and our environment, which is not something very, very pleasant. Is it? It's not. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This has been your guy Elijah Gishoro. In case you're new here, please tap that subscribe button, and also ensure that you share this video, you watch this video, drop a positive comment, and by doing so, I'll be very, very happy. I'll be very, very happy for your support. In the meantime, thank you so much. Adios, and see you in the next word.